Welcome to lesson 1-4, dividing decimals by whole numbers. We're splitting this lesson into 2 days so we can focus on dividing decimals by whole numbers on one day and then dividing decimals by decimals on a second day. So today we're going to talk about how to divide decimals by whole numbers and how to solve problems involving dividing decimals by whole numbers. All right, long division. So the first thing is making sure that we remember how to do long division. First, we have to divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. To remember the order of these steps, I like to use the sentence, dirty monkeys smell bad. It's silly, but a lot of students like to use it because it is silly and it helps them remember the 4 steps. So when you get a problem, the first thing we want to remember is that we have to flip-flop where the numbers go. So the first number walks into the door first, the second number waits patiently to come in afterwards. So the first number comes inside the house first, the second number waits patiently to come out afterwards. From there, oops, I apologize. And once we have our numbers placed, then we have to remember to put up our chairs. Each person at the party needs to have a seat. So each person inside the party has to have a seat above them. So we put up our boxes, and that helps us keep our work organized, which is going to be really important when we're working with placing the decimal at the end. Okay, and then from there, we divide. So we say, I have 9 pieces. I want to make groups of 8. I can make one group of 8. 1 times 8 is 8. I subtract those numbers. 9 minus 8 is 1. And I bring down the next number. Now I have 18 pieces. I want to make groups of 8. I can make 2 groups of 8. 2 times 8 is 16. I subtract. I bring down the next number. I have 21 pieces. I can again make 2 groups of 8. 2 times 8 is 16. I subtract. Get 5 pieces left over and bring down the 6. I have 56 pieces. I can make 7 groups of 8. 7 times 8 is 56. I subtract and I get 0. Okay, so everything we just continue to bring down and we just repeat the cycle. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. Okay, so I know that you have this one in your notes. I want you to go ahead and try this one on your own, setting it up. And then before you start actually solving the problem, come back to make sure that you set it up correctly, and then we'll go from there. All right, to set up this problem, you should have put 475 on the inside because they get to walk into the party first, and 5 would still be waiting to walk through the door. And then you need 4, 7, and 5 all to get chairs. Now go ahead and try and solve this problem on your own, and when you come back, we'll go over your answer. All right, so if I have 4 pieces, I can't make a full group of 5. So I can put a 0 here because I can make 0 groups of 5. 0 times 5 is 0. I subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. And I bring down the 7. Now I have 47 pieces. I want to make groups of 5. I can make 9 groups of 5. 9 times 5 is 45. I subtract. Bring down the 5. I have 25 pieces. I can make 5 groups of 5. 5 times 25. I'm sorry, 5 times 5 is 25. When you subtract, you get 0. Now, I want to write my answer in the best way that I can. So in this case, I wouldn't put the 0 because we don't show any zeros. There's always zeros in front of and behind numbers. We only show them though if they're relevant. So like there's always decimal 0, 0, 0 after this number, and there's always zeros here because there's nothing in that place. But we like to show it in the shortest, simplest version we can, so we take all those away and our answer is just 95. Okay, so this is going to come into play when it comes to setting up our problems for division with decimals. In this case, we set up the problem again. Okay, 75 hundredths walks in the door first, 5 waits outside patiently, and we put up the chairs. Sometimes we like to put up an extra chair just in case. That's not a problem, or you can put up chairs as more guests fill in. So now in this case, I have 0 pieces, so I can't make any groups of 5. 0 times 5 is 0, so I subtract, I get 0, and I bring down the 7. I have 7 pieces. I can make one group of 5. 1 times 5 is 5. So I subtract and I get 2, and I bring down the 5 again. Now I want to make groups of 5 because that's what I'm dividing by. So I'm taking this big number and figuring out how many times I can put it, or how many groups of 5 I can make, or in each group of 5 how many pieces there will be. So in this case I have 25 pieces. I can make 5 groups of 5. 5 times 5 is 25. I subtract and I get 0. Now with my decimal, just like when we added and subtracted, we bring our decimal straight up. So my answer in this case is 0 and 15. Actually, I'm going to move that to down here, is 0 and 15 hundredths. This is why it's really important to make sure that our numbers are in the right place, because if I move this 1 over by accident, my answer becomes 1 and 5/10 and not 0 and 15 hundredths. And that's a big difference when it comes to numbers. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause, set up this problem, try it on your own, and when you come back, we'll go over your answers. All right, so when you set up this problem, you should have had 2 and 52 hundredths walking into the party first, 3 waiting patiently outside, and then set up your chairs. From there, we would have gotten 0 and 84 hundredths as an answer, because we can make 0 groups of 3 with 2 pieces. We can make 8 groups of 3 with 25 pieces, and we subtract with 1 left over. And with 12 pieces, we can make 4 groups of 3, so we got 0 and 84 hundredths. All right, so I know that you have this in your notes as well. We are going to do this one together, and you are responsible for doing problems 1, 2, and 3 on your own. So here's 1, 2, and 3. Now this isn't a 1 and then this is part of the number. This is 1 and 38 hundredths. All right, so when we set this one up, okay, so here, like I said, this is 1 and 38 hundredths, not just 38 hundredths. But when we set this problem up, we notice that we have 0 pieces, so we can make 0 groups of 4. 0 times 4 is 0. I bring down the 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. I bring down the 2. 4 goes into 2 0 times. I can't make any group of 4 with 2 pieces. So I do 0 times 4 is 0. I subtract and I get 2. I don't just stop and put remainder 2. What I do from here is I add a chair because I'm inviting another 0 to the party. And the reason I can do that is because of this decimal right here. If this decimal isn't here, then I would have had to add a decimal after the 2 and then added the zeros. So now in this case, I bring down my new guest. I have 20 pieces. I can make 5 groups of 4 with those 20 pieces. I use all 20, so my answer, after I bring my decimal straight up, would be 0 and 5 hundredths. So if you ever get stuck, it's not that you have a remainder, you have to add a 0 and keep going. Again, your problems to post on Edmodo tonight are 1, 2, And 3, show all of your work in your notes. Make sure when you post your answer, all you have to do, so all you would have to post here would be the 0 and 5/100ths. You wouldn't have to post all the work. Do that for numbers 1, 2, and 3. And if you have any questions, make sure to post them on Edmodo so we can go over everything in class tomorrow.